Hi everybody, this is Denise Tawwab, and I'm back again with another video on the Risk Management Framework. And this is based on NIST Special Publication 837 Rev 2. And what we're doing in this series of videos is we're looking at each step in the Risk Management Framework, and we're identifying the tasks, the individual tasks that have to be done within that step. And we're up to the authorized step, and there are 5 tasks in the in the authorized step of the NIST Risk Management Framework. Thanks for coming back. Let's get into it. We're going to talk about the purpose of the authorized step, and then we'll look individually at the 5 authorized tasks and the outcomes or the outputs from those tasks. Just to give you some positioning, these are the steps in the NIST Risk Management Framework Revision 2, starting with the prepare step, then categorize. We categorize the system and the data. We select the controls. We implement the controls. We assess the implemented controls. And then the system is authorized, and that is the step that we're on now. And then the next step will be the monitor. But right now we're on the authorized step. Okay, the purpose of the authorized step of the risk management framework is to provide organizational accountability by requiring a senior management person to determine if the security and privacy risk, including supply chain risk, to your operations, assets, individuals, other organizations, or the nation based on the operation of a system or the use of common controls is acceptable. Somebody has to say, the risk in operating this system is acceptable to this organization, and we accept the risk. All right, within the authorization step, there are 5 tasks, and we'll get into each one of them. The first task in the authorized step of the risk management framework is the authorization package. In task R1, authorization package, you assemble the authorization package and submit the package to the authorizing official for an authorization decision. Potential inputs to your authorization package include the security and privacy plans, the security and privacy assessment reports, the plan of action and milestones, the supporting assessment evidence or other documentation as required. The expected output from the authorization package task is an authorization package with an executive summary, which may be generated from a security or management tool for submission to the authorizing official. I have a note here that says organizations are encouraged to maximize the use of automated tools in preparing, assembling, and transmitting authorization packages and security and privacy information that support the authorization process. There are many commercially available GRC tools which can reduce or eliminate hard copy documentation. Now, keep in mind that the NIST special publications are tool agnostic, so you're not going to get any specific recommendations or even guidance on tools with respect to doing your risk management activities, but the push is definitely to automate as much as possible using whatever system your organization chooses. All right, let's keep going. Who is responsible for Who is responsible for creating the authorization package? Primary responsibility belongs to the system owner, the common control provider, and the senior agency official for privacy. Supporting roles may be played by the system security and privacy officers, the chief information security officer, and the control assessor. All right, the authorization package is going to include the security and privacy plans, the security and privacy assessment reports that came out of the assess step, the plan of action and milestones that came out of the assess step, the executive summary also out of the assess step, and any additional information at the request of the authorizing official. So the authorizing official can receive the authorization package and then come back and ask for more information for whatever reason. Organizations maintain version and change control as the information in the authorization package is updated. Providing timely updates to the plans, assessment reports, and POAMs on an ongoing basis supports the concept of near real-time risk management and ongoing authorization. And when I say POAMs, I mean a plan of action and milestones. And that's for remediating any deficiencies that were found. The updated authorization package can be used for reauthorization actions if needed. All right, before the authorizing official makes risk determinations and the acceptance decision, the senior agency official for privacy reviews the authorization package for systems that process PII to ensure compliance with applicable privacy requirements and to manage privacy risk. The AO uses the authorization package information to make informed, risk-based decisions. For controls implemented by external providers, the information needed to make those risk-based decisions about those controls is made available by the control provider. The authorization package may be provided in hard copy or electronically, or it may be generated using an automated security, privacy management, and reporting tool. Organizations can use automated support tools to prepare and manage the contents of the authorization package. And I know you've probably noticed in these presentations, there's a lot of repetition, and that is because that is the nature of NIST special publications. They repeat the information, they say the same information in different ways. And in this particular set of presentations, when I'm doing a NIST publication, I try to stick very closely to what NIST does because I want you to get familiar with what's in the document. I don't want to reinterpret the document for you to the extent that can be avoided. So let's keep going. That was a tangent. Automated support tools provide an effective vehicle for maintaining and updating information for the authorizing official about the ongoing security and privacy posture of the information systems. While the objective is to fully automate all components of the authorization package, your organization and organizations are in different states of transition to being fully automated. Certain sections of the authorization package may be available via automated means, while other sections have to be produced manually. So keep that in mind. Everything for most organizations have not reached full automation. And so I'm going to guess that yours probably hasn't as well. When an information system is undergoing authorization, the authorization package is presented to the authorizing official via automated reports to provide information in the most efficient and timely manner possible. There's that repetition I was telling you about. The AO uses automated security, privacy management, and reporting tools or other automated means whenever practicable to assess the security and privacy plans as well as the POAMs. The authorization package documents are updated at an organization-defined frequency using automated or manual processes in keeping with the risk management objectives of your organization. Information contained in assessment reports, security assessment reports, privacy assessment reports. The information is presented to the authorizing official in the format and with the frequency that was determined by your organization using information from the security and privacy continuous monitoring programs. The assessment reports presented to the AO include information about deficiencies in system-specific, hybrid, and common controls. The format and the level of detail of the security and privacy information presented is tailored to the decision-making needs of the authorizing official. For example, detailed security and privacy information generated and collected at the operational level of the organization may be subsequently analyzed, distilled, and presented to the authorizing official in a summarized or highlighted format using automation. So that's what we mean. So that's task R1, the authorization package. Task R2 is risk analysis and determination. Let's get into it. In this task, risk analysis and determination, you're going to analyze and determine the risk from operation or use of the system or the provision of common controls. What is the risk? The inputs to this task would be your authorization package, supporting assessment evidence or other documentation as required, information provided by the senior accountable official for risk management or the risk executive function, organizational risk management strategy and the risk tolerance, and risk assessments at the organization and at the system level. The expected output is going to be a risk determination. The person primarily responsible for the risk analysis and determination is going to be the authorizing official. And the reason that makes sense is because the authorizing official is going to be the one signing off on accepting the risk. Supporting roles can be played by the risk executive function, by the chief information security officer, and by the chief privacy officer, again, depending on the roles and responsibilities within your organization. But the task, risk analysis and determination, remains the same. All right, some things to think about in the risk analysis and determination task. Well, the authorizing official, in collaboration with the senior agency information security officer and the chief privacy officer for systems that process personally identifiable information, analyzes the information in the authorization package provided by the control assessor, system owner, or common control provider, and finalizes the determination of risk. Further discussion with the control assessor, the system owner, or the common control provider might be necessary to help ensure a thorough understanding of risk by the authorizing official. The risk assessments are used to provide information that may influence the risk analysis and determination. The senior agency official for risk management, or the risk executive function, may provide additional information to the authorizing official that is considered in the final determination of risk. Additional information could include organizational risk tolerance, dependencies among systems and controls, mission and business requirements, the criticality of those missions or business functions supported by the system, or the risk management strategy. The authorizing official analyzes the information in the authorization package when making a risk determination. Any additional information provided is documented and included to the extent that it is relevant as part of the authorization decision. The authorizing official may also use an automated security, privacy management, and reporting tool to annotate the senior agency official for risk management or the risk executive function. And when the system is operating under an ongoing authorization, the risk determination task is effectively unchanged. The authorizing official analyzes the relevant security and privacy information provided by the automated security, privacy management, and reporting tool to determine the current security and privacy posture of the system. And that is task R2, risk analysis and determination. The third task in the authorized step of the NIST Risk Management Framework is risk response. In the risk response task, you identify and implement a preferred course of action in response to the risk determined. Potential inputs to risk response would be your authorization package, the risk determination, and your organization and system level risk assessment results. The expected output from this task is going to be risk responses for determined risk. The person primarily responsible for risk response is the authorizing official or the authorizing official's designated representative. Supporting roles can be played by many people on the team, including your chief risk management official, the chief information security officer, the chief privacy officer, the system owner, the common control provider, the information owner or steward, the information security or privacy engineer, and the system security officer and system privacy officer. All right, considerations when you're looking at the risk response. After the risk is analyzed and determined, then your organization can respond to risk in a number of ways, including accepting the risk and mitigating the risk. Existing key assessment results and risk assessment techniques may be used to help determine the preferred course of action for the risk response. So when your risk response is risk mitigation, then the planned mitigation actions are included in and tracked using the POAM. When the response is risk acceptance, the deficiency found during the assessment process remains documented in the security and privacy assessment reports and is monitored for changes to the risk factors. The 4 security risk risk factors, as a reminder, are threat, vulnerability, likelihood, and impact. Because the authorizing official is the only person who can accept risk, the authorizing official is responsible for reviewing the assessment reports and the POAMs and for determining whether identified risks need to be mitigated prior to authorization. Decisions on the most appropriate course of action for responding to risk may, of course, include some form of prioritization. Somewhere there's always going to be priorities and trade-offs. Well, more often than not, there are going to be priorities and trade-offs that have to be made. Some risk may be of greater concern to your organization than other risk, and when that's the case, more resources need to be directed at addressing the higher priority risk versus, of course, the lower priority risk. This doesn't mean that lower priority risks get ignored. Rather, it could mean that fewer resources are directed at addressing the lower priority risk, or that the lower priority risks are scheduled to be addressed later. A key part of risk-based decision processes is the recognition that regardless of the risk response decisions, there's going to remain a degree of residual risk. Your organization will determine the acceptable degree of residual risk based on your organization's risk tolerance. What level of risk are we comfortable accepting? All right, that's task R3, risk response. 2 more tasks, guys. We are almost done. Task R4 is the authorization decision. And let's see what that's about. The authorization decision. This is where the AO determines if the risk from the Let me try this again. The authorizing official determines if the risk from the operation or use of the information system or the provision or use of common controls is acceptable. Inputs to the authorization decision includes risk responses for determined risk. The expected outputs from this task would be the authorization to operate, the authorization to use, a common control authorization, a denial of authorization to operate, a denial of authorization to use, or a denial of common control authorization. So either the authorizing official authorizes the system or the authorizing official doesn't authorize the system. There is no in between. Even if the authorizing official comes back and says you have to make these changes and do these mitigation activities before the authorization, that is still a no. So keep that in mind. Person primarily responsible for authorization decisions is your authorizing official. The explicit acceptance of risk is the responsibility of the AO, and it cannot be delegated to other officials within the organization. The AO considers many factors when deciding if the risk to the organization is acceptable. Balancing the security and privacy considerations with the mission and business needs is paramount to achieving an acceptable risk-based authorizing decision. There may be instances when the authorizing official and the senior agency official for privacy cannot reach a final resolution about the appropriate protection for PII, that's your personally identifiable information, and the information systems that process that PII. In that case, OMB Circular A130 provides guidance on how to resolve such instances. So keep that in mind, because oftentimes, a lot of times, privacy and security are at odds with each other. So Circular A130 can help. All right, authorization decision considerations. I've got 10 slides, so let's do this quickly. The AO issues an authorization decision for the system or for common controls after reviewing the information in the authorization package, input from other officials, and other relevant information that can affect the authorization decision. The authorization package contains the most current information on the security and privacy posture of the system or of the common controls. The authorization decision is conveyed by the AO to the system owner or to the common control provider and to other organizational officials as appropriate. The authorization decision also includes the specific terms and conditions for the authority to operate, the authorization termination date or time-driven authorization frequency, input from the senior agency official for risk management if provided, and for common control authorizations, the system impact level supported by the common controls. For example, these common controls can only be used on moderate impact systems. So something like that. Organizations are encouraged to use automated security, privacy management, and reporting tools whenever feasible to develop the authorization packages for systems and common controls, and to maintain those packages during ongoing authorization. Your automated tools can significantly reduce documentation costs, can provide increased speed and efficiency in generating important information for decision makers, and can provide more effective means for updating your critical risk management information. It is recognized that certain controls are not conducive to the use of automated tools, and therefore manual methods are acceptable in those situations. For systems, the authorization decision indicates to the system owner whether the system is authorized to operate or authorized to use, or not authorized to operate or not authorized to use. For common controls, the authorization decision indicates to the common control provider and to the system owners of inheriting systems whether the common controls are authorized to be provided or not authorized to be provided. The terms and conditions for the common control authorization provide a description of any specific limitations or restrictions placed on the operation of the system or on the controls that must be followed by the system owner or common control provider. The authorization termination date is established by the AO and indicates when the authorization expires. Authorizations do expire. If the system is operating under an ongoing authorization, then the organization may eliminate the authorization termination date. Now, ongoing authorization means that the continuous monitoring program is sufficiently mature and robust to provide the authorizing official with the needed information to conduct ongoing risk determination and risk acceptance activities concerning the security and privacy posture of the system and the ongoing effectiveness of the controls used within and inherited by the system. So you've got to be mature in your continuous monitoring program in order to do ongoing authorizations. All right, upon receiving the authorization decision, the system owner or the common control provider acknowledges and implements the terms and conditions of the authorization. The organization ensures that the authorization package, including the authorization decision for systems and common controls, is made available to other people in the organization. And that could be system owners inheriting common controls, the chief information officers, the risk executive function, security officers, whoever it's decided is on the distribution list. The authorizing official verifies on an ongoing basis, as part of continuous monitoring, that the established terms and conditions for authorization are being followed by the system owner or by the common control provider. When the system is operating under an ongoing authorization, the authorizing official continues to be responsible and accountable for explicitly understanding and accepting the risk of continuing to operate or use the system, or continuing to provide common controls. All right, under ongoing authorization, the authorization frequency is specified in lieu of an authorization termination date. So under ongoing authorization, the system is reauthorized on a predetermined schedule. The AO reviews the information with specific time-driven authorization frequency defined by your organization as part of the continuous monitoring strategy, and determines if the risk of continued system operation or the provision of common controls remains acceptable. If the risk remains acceptable, then the AO acknowledges the acceptance in keeping with your organizational processes. If not, the AO indicates that the risk is no longer acceptable and requires further risk response or a full denial of the authorization. The organization determines the level of formality for the process of communicating and acknowledging continued risk acceptance by the authorizing official. The AO may continue to establish and convey the specific terms and conditions to be followed by the system owner or common control provider for continued authorization to operate, continued common control authorization, or continued authorization to use. The terms and conditions of authorization may be conveyed through an automated management and reporting tool as part of an automated authorization decision. The bottom line is that everything has to be documented and communicated clearly, and that it has to be thought out. You have to have strategies and plans and processes and procedures, and so you don't just do this willy-nilly. You really do have to have governance over it, and a lot of thought has to go into it, or at least that's ideal. So I'm going to just leave that alone and keep moving. Still on task R4, authorization decision. If control assessments are conducted by qualified assessors with the required level of independence and the required security and privacy standards and guidelines, then the assessment results support ongoing authorization and may be applied to a reauthorization. Organizational policies about ongoing authorization must be consistent with any laws, executive orders, directives, regulations, and policies to which your organization or the system is subject. And then the AO consults with the risk executive function before making the final authorization decision for the system or the common controls, because there are potentially significant dependencies among systems and with external systems. The authorization decisions of individual systems are carried out in consideration of the current residual risk, POAMs, and the risk tolerance of the organization. Appendix F of Special Publication 837 really talks about the authorization decision, the types of authorization, and the preparation of the authorization package. I also turned that information into a presentation, a video, so there is a video, and I will try to remember to link to that underneath the video, the presentation that I did talking about authorization decisions. I think that's enough about authorization decisions. So let's move on to task R5. It is the fifth and final task in the authorized step of the risk management framework, and it's authorization reporting. In the authorization and reporting task, you report the authorization decision and any deficiencies and controls that represent significant security or privacy risk. Inputs to the authorization reporting is going to be the authorization decision. The expected outputs will be a report indicating the authorization decision for a system or set of common controls, a report containing deficiencies in systems or controls described in the cybersecurity framework functions, categories, and subcategories, and that's for those of you who are using the NIST cybersecurity framework, and annotation of authorization status in the organizational system registry. Okay, who's primarily responsible for reporting the authorization? It's the system owner, the common control provider, or the control assessor. Supporting roles, of course, would be your authorizing official, the chief information security officer, chief privacy officer, the information owner, security engineer, privacy engineer, the system security officer, and the system privacy officer. So all the people involved in security, any of them can participate as needed, and again, as indicated by the roles and responsibilities within your organization. Do keep in mind that NIST special publications are all guidance. They are not prescriptive. They are guidance on how to do this. It's good guidance, but you don't have to follow it. All right. Considerations for authorization reporting. We are almost done, guys. We're down to 3 slides. Hang in there with me. Okay, for authorization reporting, the AOs report authorization decisions for systems and common controls to be designated to the designated officials in the organization, so that the individual risk decisions can be viewed in the context of organization-wide security and privacy risk. Reporting occurs only in situations where organizations have delegated the authorization functions to levels of the organizations below the head of the agency, and that's TO and not TWO. So let me say that again. Reporting occurs only in situations where organizations have delegated the authorization functions to levels of the organizations below the head of the agency. The authorizing officials also report exploitable deficiencies, vulnerabilities in the system or controls noted during the assessment, and the continuous monitoring that represents significant security or privacy risk. So I'm going to give you a report telling you the decision, and I'm going to tell you about any vulnerabilities that remain. Organizations determined, and the organization policy will reflect what constitutes a significant security or privacy risk for reporting. Deficiencies that represent significant vulnerabilities and security privacy risk can be reported using the subcategories, categories, and functions described in the NIST Cybersecurity Framework. If you're using that, authorization decisions may be tracked and reflected as part of the organization-wide system registration process at your organization's discretion. And those are the 5 tasks in the authorized step of the NIST Risk Management Framework: your authorization package, your risk analysis and determination, your risk response, the authorization decision, and reporting of the authorization. Thanks again for joining me. You guys are so wonderful to hang out with me while I go through this information. I know that it's tedious, especially when I stick so closely to the NIST special publication, but I hope you find it helpful. Please like, comment, subscribe, talk to me. If you'd like for me to do some videos that are not already on my site, request them in the comments and I'll do what I can. Thanks again and have a great day.